everyone, and welcome to the first edition of Christmas Movie Fridays. Now, this is obviously a replacement for the 28 Days of Christmas, except it's more or less trimmed down so I'm not putting up like 30 videos a day. Well, 28 technically, because it starts the day after Thanksgiving, or something like that, and it goes on through the rest of November up until Christmas Day. This is going to be different. And besides that, I want to get this little something out of the way. This, last year in the 28 Days of Christmas Marathon, I made a little segment called Spotlight Fridays, or I forget the title of it, but essentially it was, I talked about like certain selective Christmas films that at least deserve the spotlight on the channel. Well, that Spotlight Friday was the inspiration for Movie Fridays. But you click on this video to expect me for a review of Home Alone 3. Well, yes indeed. And here's a special little something about it before I actually review this sucker. So first of all, you guys know that, for one thing, I have this limited edition, or I don't know if it is a limited edition or not, but it's obviously the Home Alone 25th Anniversary pail, which has just about every Home Alone movie you can think of. Inside the pail, obviously, contains all 5 of the Home Alone movies, even the ones that have nothing to do with the original source material, but just have the Home Alone name just because. Well, inside this pie there is obviously the Home Alone 1 and 2 on Blu-ray and DVD, but if you go on further, there is also 3, 4, and Holiday Heist, all on one little DVD. Probably these weren't the popular ones, obviously, since Home Alone 3 is a sucky one, 4 is questionable, and I'll review that in 2 weeks. And then Holiday Heist, well, I think I'm interested in reviewing that as the Ferg guy. But first, let's talk about Home Alone 3. Now, this is the first one that obviously has nothing to do with Home Alone whatsoever. And to make matters interesting, I don't think there's anything that does anything with Home Alone. I mean, here's the thing. At the time of the 90s, John Hughes basically gave up on directing films after, I believe, John Candy passed away. Or at least around the 90s, he decided not to direct any more movies, but instead be a writer. Obviously, he is well known for his teen films. There are great films, coming-of-age classics, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink. They're all fantastic movies, but he's also a talented writer. And unfortunately, for matters or worse, Home Alone 3 is not one of his finest. What happens in the film is a terrorist organization from Hong Kong in North Korea, from Hong Kong, which is like some sort of basis or whatever that wants to nuke the world. They hire a few couple of foreign contractors to steal this U.S. defense chip that'll... The plotline's pretty confusing, but the contractors are sent in to take this U.S.-grade missile chip, which will prevent them from attacking. But as they arrive at L.A., and as this mysterious character, as they're arriving, the bags wind up getting swapped up, and they wind up traveling to Chicago O'Hare to try and get the bag back. Thus we enter our kid for the movie, Alex Prout? Yeah, Alex Prout, played by Alex D. Linz. I don't know much about Alex Linz, except outside for this movie, but one thing I realized after watching the opening credits or looking something up is that the bizarre thing is that this movie has a very young Scarlett Johansson. I'm not kidding when I say that. Scarlett Johansson is in this movie, and, where is it? She plays, the sister of Alex, Molly Pruitt. Though she's not much in the movie, so just wanted to get that out of the way. Essentially, the burglars wind up finding, a home to hide out in so that they, can get themselves situated with the situation that's going on and figure out where the hell their chip is. And for many of things, Alex does make the right moves as he's sick with chicken pox and everything. As this happens, as they are going through the houses, he does the right thing, call 911, but obviously as they leave, no one believes him. And he decides to basically take matters into his own hands and, of course, try and bust the criminals himself. Even trying to get evidence, for that matter. At least the one thing I'll give credit for is he actually does the right thing. It's just that no one ever believes him. But then again, they're hackers, and who would ever believe a person who knows hackers? Knows hackers? Anyways, during the rest of the movie, it's basically up to him to try and figure how to stop these guys from breaking into the houses and trying to get their missile back. So, of course, beforehand, as he's setting up evidence trying to get evidence and basically booby-trapping the whole house, much like the other Home Alone movies, that's when we find out that Alex winds up having the chip in his own RC vehicle that was given to him by his next-door neighbor, who is an elderly woman. Again, does the right thing, but instead of calling the police, he winds up calling a Air Force recruitment center, just because probably doesn't know the number for the Air Force, or that the Air Force number is kept a secret, but he calls the Air Force recruitment center, and although they kind of don't feel like this is their thing, he does decide, the recruitment guy decides to actually write down the number, which obviously goes into the head of the FBI. So now it's a whole thing against the FBI and the police, and all of this nonsense that happens throughout the whole film. And that's when we get to the booby-trapping the whole house. This whole movie is just a bore fest, and it's questionable. Why does this movie even tie into Home Alone in the first place? I don't think there's any reason for the movie to be tied into Home Alone to begin with. I really just don't think there is a reason. It's just, I first saw this on Cartoon Network when it aired, and yes, there was a time where Cartoon Network was actually airing live-action stuff. I was there, man. It was terrifying. But I remember seeing this movie on Cartoon Network, and I thought it was meh. Not the best. And after seeing Home Alone 1 and 2, I honestly found those a lot better than 3. Tried to watch Taking Back the House, but man, it just didn't sit well with me. But with that matter, Home Alone 3, honestly, I have nothing else to say, but if you want some more expressive opinions on it, definitely check out the Nostalgia Critic review for Home Alone 3, but if you want my personal opinion, definitely it's not one of John Hughes' finest. he could have been a whole lot better with his design and how he writes the whole film, because there's like some few moments that I believe he just wrote out up his rear, where at times where he's just like, and yes, I actually do have a laptop with me to pull this gag up. Like, one instance is that Alex, like his mom and his brother and sister, wind up hearing about how Alex is in trouble and the head of the FBI is there. And as they're trying to get information on what's going on and why Alex called, he basically talks some technobabble like this. He basically says, "We found out that that he winds up having a missile defense chip inside of an RC car that's being held against a terrorist organization that's located in Hong Kong, and all this technobabble nonsense that you probably wouldn't get, and it will fly over your heads, period." That's what it is. That is what happens. There is so much complicated stuff in this film, but also stuff that makes no sense whatsoever. And besides that, the traps are completely insane. I mean, I know that in the film they're rebuilding the house and everything, but also what happens in the whole film about how Alex winds up actually demolishing like parts of the house just so he can trap the bad guys in certain situations. Wow. I mean, he pulled up a lot to actually get this house demolished. I mean, for Pete's sake, electrical wirings, glues, slipping the boards out of the back houses, a trap where a big hope chest of books falls down, a dumbbell, or I forget what the hell they are, but it requires 2 hands to lift them over, whatever. I mean, I haven't been in the gym for years, and I don't even know what those things are. I know about dumbbells, but I just don't know what these are. Wrong movements. There is also some plausible stuff that I question throughout this whole film. I mean, for Pete's sake, there is so much wrong with this movie, it's hard to explain it. Even I don't know it, but how John Hughes decided to write this film, he just didn't do it right. Or at least the direction was completely wrong. I mean, who directed this movie? Roger Gosnell? Roger Gosnell? Like, the guy who directed the live-action Scooby-Doo movies and the Smurfs. Wow. Just wow. But here's a little more salt to that. Apparently, he's also the one that edited Home Alone 1 and 2, and Mrs. Doubtfire, and also another one I want to try and take a look at sometime, Pretty Woman. Yeah, Pretty Woman. Why must life be so painful and to find out about this stuff? For Pete's sake. If there's anything we know from Roger Gosnell, is that obviously his stuff is not good. I mean, John Hughes is a good writer, but he's not the best of directors. I mean, the Smurf movies are not the prime example of his franchise. Honestly, if anything, he shouldn't even be on the directing board. Obviously, this film is not as terrible as Terminator Genisys. Far from it! In my opinion, Home Alone 3 is really a questionable one. How does this have anything to do with Home Alone? If it were named something else, it'd be passable, to say the very least. But the fact that it's tied in with the Home Alone franchise, I mean, hello, Home Alone 3! There is no reason that it should have that name. If it was something else, I'd be fine with it. But with it being called Home Alone 3, that's where I draw the line. That's my overall thoughts on the movie. But I also wanted to add one bonus, because obviously since these DVDs, or at least the 3, 4, and 5, I don't know about the 2 DVDs from Home Alone, but it can be questionable, is that disc number 3, 4, and 4 for that matter, they're obviously recycled DVDs. Now, I don't want to try and pull this one out, afraid of breaking the camera and everything, so let me get this out for you. These are like the older DVDs, which obviously these two are dual-sided, which I hate these things because they're easy to scratch, and besides that, this disc is all the way from 2003. Yeah, 2003! They clearly did not care to, like, rebuild anything, or remake a new DVD out of it. Probably because the movie sucks so bad, or not many people remember it, or they didn't sell enough, so they had to repackage it. Same can be said for Home Alone 3. I'm willing to bet that the DVD is probably one of the older releases. Like, the ones where, like, HD TVs don't even recognize the widescreen on it. And let me show you when I say that. Obviously, this whole thing is window boxed, which means is that the widescreen doesn't fill up properly with the TV, and there's these 2 pillow boxes right here. That's essentially window box. I would have to use a TV zoom to find it out, or at least make it fit all the way through. But, yeah, Home Alone 3 is a terrible film, and I'll review Home Alone 4 within 2 weeks. Sorry if this seems rushed, but, the battery on my camera's dying, so I gotta charge it. So, Home Alone 3, have you seen it? What did you think about it? And overall, what is the worst Home Alone movie you've ever experienced? Whatever your thoughts are, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you're seeing and you want to see more, click on these end slates around me if you want to see more. And as always, I'm the Ferb Guy, and I'll see you guys for the next movie. Jeez, that's a lot to say.